What happened the very first time Vader fought Luke? Luke, Luke, listen to me carefully. Run! The ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi reached out to Luke for the very first time since the Death Star to deliver him that warning. But it was too late. Standing right in front of Luke, his red lightsaber ignited, was Darth Vader. This would be their first fight, and it wasn't going to go the way Luke planned. Before we dive into the details of their encounter, let's take a step back and see how Luke Skywalker and Vader ended up in this hallway together, both of their lightsabers ignited and ready for a duel. It was only a short time after the destruction of the first Death Star. Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie had returned to the Rebels and had been executing critical missions around the galaxy, trying to keep the Empire off balance as it was still reeling from the destruction of the Empire's prized Death Star battle station. The most recent mission was of the utmost importance. They were to travel to Cymoon 1, an Imperial manufacturing planet, and destroy one of the main munitions providers for the Stormtrooper army. Luke and his friends arrived aboard a Tatooine shuttle, pretending to be emissaries of Jabba the Hutt. They smooth-talked the local Imperial commander, playing up the part of tough Outer Rim negotiators, and were welcomed further into the manufacturing facilities. All a part of their plan to blow the whole place to pieces. But one thing went wrong, and then more. Before they knew it, their cover was blown, and they drew their weapons, fighting against the Imperials that were alerted to their presence. And then Luke felt it. A disturbance in the Force. The man, the monster, the one who had killed his mentor, Darth Vader, had just arrived on the planet. Luke wanted to confront the man. He wanted to make things right for Ben. He was consumed with revenge. Although he didn't know it at the time, the nature of revenge and how it led to the dark side of the Force was still not clear to him. All he knew was that avenging his fallen master seemed noble, and it consumed him entirely. And so, Luke went through the corridors of the Imperial factory, searching for the dark disturbance that tugged at his senses. He turned one more corner, and then he saw him, marching slowly, deliberately. Up the hallway was Darth Vader. Luke ignited his blue lightsaber, his shoulders slack, not quite sure of his decision, but unwilling to back away.
You hold that weapon like an untrained child. You have no right to it.
Darth Vader scolded Luke, not fully realizing that this child was in fact his, and the weapon he was wielding was none other than his own, the lightsaber that he lost dueling Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar all those years ago. Luke responded, telling Vader that he killed his father, still not aware that Vader hadn't killed his father. No, Vader actually was his father.
I've killed many fathers. You'll have to be more specific.
Vader taunted again. Luke had had enough. He raised his blue lightsaber over his shoulder and charged at Vader. The Dark Lord brought his red blade up, and the two clashed in midair. Luke held Vader for a moment, but the Sith was too powerful, and with a single hand he broke Luke's footing and forced the would-be Jedi to the ground.
This is most pathetic. Who sent you here to die like this?
Vader taunted again. Then, with a quick jerk, he yanked the lightsaber from Luke's hands and grasped it. Wielding both lightsabers, Vader demanded to know every detail of the rebels' plans. But Luke refused. He was foolish, charging at Vader even though he barely knew how to use his lightsaber. But he was not a traitor. He would rather die than give in to the man who killed Obi-Wan. Darth Vader conceded. If Luke rather die than reveal the rebel plans, then Vader would gladly grant him his wish. He raised both lightsabers, the blue and red blades shining on his helmet, but before he could bring them against Luke, he paused. This blue lightsaber was familiar. He recognized it. It was in that moment that he realized it was his lightsaber. Why would Obi-Wan give his lightsaber to this boy? Why would his former master go through such lengths to protect him? This couldn't be a simple Force sensitive that Obi-Wan found wandering the galaxy. While Vader's mind raced for answers, the ceiling above him shattered and the massive foot of an AT-AT crashed down, narrowly missing both men. It was Han and Leia. They had commandeered the vehicle in an attempt to escape the factory. They barreled through the Imperial forces, taking all the attention away from Luke. But Darth Vader didn't fall for it. He kept his eyes on Luke. There was something about that boy. He had a suspicion. Maybe not fully understanding how or why, but he knew Luke was special, and he somehow shared a connection with him. By now, the entire Imperial factory had descended into madness. Han, Leia, Chewie, and local rebelling workers fought against waves of stormtroopers. Blaster fire and bodies flew everywhere, and Darth Vader pushed through them all. They were barely noticeable, a slight resistance for a Dark Lord of the Sith. Like a child wading through water, Darth Vader lunged, each foot in front of the other, slicing through bodies as he went. Luke retrieved a blaster and tried to rally with his fellow rebels, but he couldn't gain any footing. Vader was right behind him. Vader used the Force to throw Luke's blue lightsaber at a recently freed slave, punishing Luke for daring to resist him by killing the very people he had just tried to save. Luke mourned briefly, then turned to face his enemy with greater purpose. He went to pick up the lightsaber that lay at the dead slave's side, but with a quick yank, it flew backwards, right back into the hand of Darth Vader. Another volley of blaster fire. The stormtroopers were making progress. Rallied by Darth Vader's support, they were mowing down wave after wave of rebels. Luke retreated behind a few metal supply crates, hoping to gain a few seconds of quiet to plan his next step. A blue lightsaber flew above him, slicing through another rebel. Darth Vader was getting closer. Then Luke saw them, a line of speeder bikes. While he might not have been a very impressive lightsaber duelist, at least not yet, he was one of the best pilots in the galaxy, and the ace shot who destroyed the Death Star. Getting a vehicle, especially an agile one like an Imperial speeder bike, would balance the scales of this fight. Luke mounted the bike and shot through the stormtroopers accompanying Darth Vader. The Dark Lord didn't budge. Perhaps he was amused. Or perhaps he truly felt as if the boy on the speeder bike posed no threat. Whatever the case may be, he realized Obi-Wan had been up to something. There was definitely something special about this boy. What did Kenobi find out there in the deserts of Tatooine? Before he could dwell on these questions, Han and Leia's commandeered AT-AT barreled in from behind, landing one of its massive feet next to Darth. A swing and a miss. The pair of rebels tried one more time to stomp on Vader, ending him in one of the most embarrassing ways possible, a stain on the bottom of an Imperial walker. They raised one of its 20-ton feet and pressed the hydraulic engines down, bringing it towards Darth Vader with the full weight of gravity. But with a single outstretched hand, Vader stopped it. Over 90 tons of weight, and Vader pushed it back. Summoning the dark side of the Force, Vader stared down the AT-AT and the rebel heroes inside and began crushing it. With little more than seconds before the entire vehicle was incapacitated, Leia fired everything she had at Vader, breaking the Sith Lord's focus, and the pair managed to shake off his grip. Recovering from the AT-AT's barrage, Vader didn't notice as Luke sped around the battlefield, shooting stormtroopers and picking up his blue lightsaber, which Vader had dropped. Luke was proving himself to be every bit of the hero that the legends claimed. With each new feat, Vader's interest increased, but that also meant he was distracted. Instead of claiming the lives of the rebels when he had the chance, Darth Vader focused on capturing Luke. The rebels continued to fight their way through the factory, getting closer and closer to their getaway ship, the Millennium Falcon, which waited in a scrapyard not too far away. When they finally reached it, Leia and Han urged everyone to get on board so they could escape, knowing that they had no chance to defeat Vader and his army. But Luke refused. They had come here to destroy the weapons factory. He wouldn't leave until he had done just that. So Luke raced aboard his speeder bike, barreling through the factory's corridors until he found the power core. With a squeeze of the trigger, red blaster fire filled the room and penetrated the blue core. The station turned red, explosives erupting around the building. Luke did it. He had destroyed the main factory, but behind him, inside of an Imperial fighter, was Darth Vader. Instead of apprehending the rebels, Vader chased after Luke. He followed him through the collapsing factory and out the other side, and nearly got his hands on the young Jedi, but collapsing debris took down his ship before he could. When he rose from the wreckage, Darth Vader watched as the blue ion drive of the Millennium Falcon radiated and the ship rose through the atmosphere, getting away. While they had won the battle, Vader wasn't satisfied. He realized something that day. The boy from Tatooine, Luke Skywalker, was Obi-Wan Kenobi's last hope for the Jedi. But he was something more. He would spend the next few weeks traveling to Tatooine, trying to find out exactly who Luke was, and why he felt this weird connection. Eventually, learning a truth that the Emperor had long kept secret.